Ooh, there we are. What's going on? What is going on, Jeff? Evan, it's winning on Wednesday. Patriot Business Alliance coming at you live on the social media platforms Facebook, YouTube,
Spotify,
Spotify,
iTunes.
iTunes. I thought Jeff was starting a TikTok, but it just hasn't gained any traction.
And I did sign up for a TikTok account,
Did
bro.
you
I
really?
can't get into it, man.
I couldn't.
Someone's like, "Yo, a lot of people are on TikTok for businesses." So I'm like, "Oh, it came from our Apex group," and I'm like, "Okay, let me give this a shot." I just can't with the stupid people on that fucking app, dude.
There's a lot. Now, if
just
you
can't.
ran a bounce house business, TikTok would probably be your jam, right? I could see where certain businesses would be effective for that platform. But my opinion, I can't get behind it. It's owned by a country that I can't get behind. So
It's just a stupid app with a bunch of stupid people on it. Now, don't get me wrong. There's probably some really good value in it if you know how to use it, but I would say a good 80%. This is just a bunch of jackholes on TikTok,
bunch
man.
of Steve-O's from bunch of Steve-O's. So
Can't deal it, man.
yeah. So as we start off all of our podcasts, we want to talk about our wins. We want to give our gratitudes and just our thanks to our family, clients, and just how our week was great last week. So we're gonna kick this off with Evan over here. And what do you got for us, man? Tell me about those W's out there. I know we were talking a little bit about your social media game and
don't
how your
use your pretty.
company's accelerated.
What's up,
so
Kevin?
Tell us about it.
Yeah. So business win. Yesterday marked month 2 that I've officially been in business for myself. It feels like a lifetime, but it also feels like a week.
2 months that
It's
fast?
2 months. It went.
Wow.
It went by, but every day I feel like I'm picking up something new, learning something new. So it's a huge win. 2 months in, I feel like my feet are solidly on the ground with where I'm at. Still got big ambitions, big goals, pushing forward, but it's one day at a time. Make the most of what's in front of me on this day. Personal win, big family win. This week is spring break for my son. So I usually don't break away from work in the week. It's hard for me to turn off my brain, but I was able to on Monday, like shut it down at lunch. And we took a family day. We went to the aquarium. And still part of me was like,
I should be doing something.
Stuff. Yeah, but it was being able to just like step away from it and spend time with the family, which comes before just duty and work, was really big. That was a win. Being able to do that and having the autonomy to do that, not having to ask someone else, "Hey, can I take the afternoon off?"
No more.
So yeah, huge win. Loved every minute of it. So yeah.
Well, you better be asking your clients. I mean, I think those are the only ones I got to be receptive to on their time. But
Yeah.
you nailed it on the head. That's a extreme reason why a lot of people go into business for themselves is to be able to take those days to spend time with their family. I know one of our guys is at the zoo today with his kids, and it's because of the freedom of being your own boss. Jeff, what do you know about that?
Man, I'm in year 5 and I'm still learning how to be a boss. If I'm being honest, man, it's an ever evolving cycle. You know what I mean? And I don't think I'll ever completely feel like, I'll just put it to you in this analogy. There's no end to this race for me, right? There's no top of the mountain per se. I feel like when I get to that milestone, now the friction needs to continue to be there because that's where the growth for me comes from. So business win for me is product is starting to feel like it's coming back a little bit, but it's so volatile. The good thing is though is I'm approaching 2022 completely different than I did last year, where I'm starting to stock up on equipment, use some cash flow for inventory, so that way I'm not stuck waiting on things now.
Smart.
There are still some things that you just have no choice. There's just shit that ain't available. But so business is going well. Personal win, man. I'm alive. I'm kicking. I'm 6 feet up. I don't have any really big, huge things other than I got food in my belly. My family has a roof over their head, and my bills are paid. The rest is kind of noise.
I'm kind of jealous on the food in the belly part.
You didn't eat before you came here, huh?
I did, but it just didn't. I'm not there.
I need a Snickers.
I feel like right around 7:30, I'm gonna be right back where I need to be. So no, I didn't top off, but that's okay. And that's huge. Just continuously to grow daily. Those 1% ends up turning into 365% after a year has gone by. So wins for me just recently happened. All the work that our company has put in over the last 3, 5, 6 years of being in business, I've really seen our clients, our customer base turn around and give back.
I love it.
Right.
Yeah.
And then like, so there was a storm that came through the town that I live in, and the community on social media just kind of said, hey, this guy does the right thing. He knows what he's doing. And just without asking, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't ask anybody to do anything for me. And it just, was a cry out. And I was like extremely impressed. And I was like, oh my God, this is crazy and humbling. And it just goes to show that you just stay consistent and stay true to your word and just do what you say you're going to do.
Yeah.
Right. The amount of respect from your clients that give back to you in an industry that is just insanely saturated after a storm comes through a town. So it's really cool to have that feedback and that community support. As for family wins, I can't win enough with those guys. I'm telling you what, you know what I mean?
That's why it's hard to pick one.
Yeah, like just every day, my son's getting better. He's smiling and just loving life, even though he hates school. I mean, he's at that weird time. So when I go home, at one point in time in my life, when it almost was sad to go home. Right, I was like, oh, I just want to go in there and deal with the shit. Right, and today it's totally different. Right, the way my mind has
look forward to going
right
home.
I'm like, man, I want to go home. I want to ask my kids how they're doing. I want to know. And that's probably what we're going to be talking about tonight.
Mindset,
right, is that armored mind. Is if anybody's ever read the book Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins, or have read any book written by a veteran in some sort of a special forces capacity, they have trained their mind to live life at a different level than 98% of the world. Right. And so Jeff and Evan, I don't know if you've read that book or have listened to it on Audible, but there's just a ton of value that comes from those pages. And even from listening for, some people that prefer to listen to books, that really helps you have a better understanding how tough your mental capacity really is. Yeah. And so we want to dive in today from some of the information that I've gotten from the book and their perspective from that book, as well as applying it to our everyday life, not only today, but in the past, and how our mindset kind of affected some of those choices that we made. So very broad topic, and we want to call it the armored mind.
You know what's crazy about that book in general is I've listened to it because I'm the guy that listens to books. I just don't, words in my brain don't work very well. I can do it. It's a battle, but I've listened to that book 4 or 5 times, and each chapter it's, and I hate to compare it to this, but it's kind of like the Bible. When you read the Bible, you get different perspectives from it, depending on your state and where you're at in your life. And every single one of those chapters has told me something different every time I've listened to it. The armored mind, to me, spoke to me in a way that made me understand where David Goggins was coming from, in a matter of, hey, this is where I once was, and this is what people told me I could or could not do. But there came a point in his life, and in mine, about 15 years ago, where it's like, okay, I'm no longer going to let other people dictate, like you said, my emotions or my pathway, and made a clear and present decision in that time to say, I'm going to callous my mind to get through the bullshit. And most of the bullshit that I was dealing with was my own bullshit. You know what I mean? And a lot of the times, from a business owner's perspective, or if you're a leader in a company, or you're just an employee and you're thinking about, becoming an entrepreneur, you got to understand that the battle is in your mind. At least it is for me. The physical work, the physical stuff I did in boot camp, the physical things I did in the Marine Corps, that was never a problem for me. It was where I found success was going back and getting out of my own mind, which was, sometimes the worst of it.
It's definitely very difficult, especially if you're raised in a home where the armor that we put inside of our mind was a self-defense mechanism.
100%. Yeah.
Right.
100%. Yeah.
So I don't know everybody's upbringing, but I guarantee you it probably sucked in some form of way.
At some point, all of it
did. At some point in time. Right. Some people had it better than others. Other people had it worse than others. It is what it is. It's the way it was. But we all had a self-defense mechanism that we inherently chose based on what was going on, and that's how we started developing this defense, this armored mind concept that
It's
David
that fight or
talks
flight,
about.
man.
It is. It's the parasympathetic nervous system.
Yeah.
And all of the medulla oblongata and all these cool medical terms that basically it's a surge of blood into a certain portion of our brain that allows us to defend ourselves.
It's conditioning, right?
Yeah.
Neurons that fire together, wire together. So it's whatever you're putting in is what's going to be output.
Yeah. So how do you armor your mind? How do you get, how did you get from that mindset and start chipping away at these bad armaments, right? Because we're describing whatever we can.
Kind of think about it like a boxing match, right?
Yeah.
If you go into a boxing match without gloves on, you have no defense. So as you continue to train as a boxer, you learn that you got to tape up, and you learn that you got to tape your hands and your wrists, and you learn you got to put boxing gloves on. I think I was able to kind of build my armor through trials and tribulations, and never forgetting where I came from, but never holding on to it, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like that woe is me sob story, I ain't got time for it, and I don't want to hear it from anybody else either, right? So my armor was built directly from the experiences I had, whether that be family, friends, my own self-pity or doubt or whatever it may have been. But I think the armor is not just something that you build once.
100%.
It's like a car, it's got to be maintained. It's got to be polished, and you got to replace a few things on the armor, the chinks in the armor, so to speak, that, from the battles you take, and you got to fix them, and fixing them starts in your mind.
And let me ask you, right? You're what? 19, 20, somewhere around there?
18, yeah.
18, right? Fresh out. And so you're closer to your childhood than me or Jeff.
Sure.
That's fair.
Because you are like 60.
Just fresh over.
Yeah.
We just got a brand new set of
AARP cards.
Yeah.
That's right. So
Put your pants at Denny's.
Don't
It's
hate
all
the
right.
player, hate the game.
That's right.
Okay.
So what, Casey not here, so now we're the old motherfuckers.
we're the old ones. It's inherent. It happens. They
All
told
right.
us it was coming.
So
But I've been armoring my mind
Here
for
we
this
are.
day for a long time.
let's hear it.
Right. So were you taught anything bad? Because let me use your analogy of the boxing.
Yeah.
Right. The problem I had was I was taught how to box incorrectly.
Yeah.
So was there anything that you were taught incorrectly that you noticed when you got older and you were able to go, you know what? I don't think that was right, Dad.
Yeah.
Right. Time out. Like, I don't think that was the way that was supposed to happen when I was 14.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that's what we want to dive into, right? Because that's some of the armor that we didn't intentionally put up.
Yeah.
We were given that bullshit.
Yeah.
Right.
And
So
I'd
is there-
say most people have been given that.
right. We were given that the armor that was frail and that was dinged and dented and misproportioned and borrowed and abused. Right. So is there anything that you could think of in your past that you realize now as an adult that you kind of switched that out?
Yeah, for sure. No, I think, well, how much time do we have for one? No,
We
So-
give each other like 10 seconds.
10 seconds on the clock. So without diving too much into it, I don't want the whole story. I didn't grow up with a father figure really. So I wasn't really shown or demonstrated those things that I had to later learn. Like I think about 19, 20 years old, I started to kind of, I guess I came into the whole informational awareness of like the brain's malleability, right? And the whole growth mindset approach and the whole opportunity to, if you don't like how something is, change it. Because before that, prior to that, it was always that fixed mindset of like, oh, I'm just not good
That's
at
just
this
how it
thing,
is.
and I'll always be not good at that thing. But so I think like around that mark is where I had to learn to change it, but it wasn't on a good foundation because I hadn't done the internal work to figure out what was really problems at my core. So fast forward, and I think over the last 5, 6, 7 years, recognizing that personally I do best when I am constantly being challenged, because I think to y'all's point, like you didn't know the armor was weak until it had some sort of attack, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
You're content with armor, but you don't know that it's frail until it can't withstand an attack. So, over that process of kind of realizing like, oh, you can adapt and change and you can welcome some challenge so that on the back end of it, you've developed some sort of maybe attack preparation for the next time, or even in that, like I used to say this thing to myself, like, or remind myself of like, do hard things. Because I think on the back end of that, like being someone who I'm momentum driven, I love a challenge because I don't want to be complacent because I'm inherently lazy. Like just that whole idea of pushing forward. And I guess to kind of put a bow on it, like it was all like self like awareness, I think, around that age, 19, 20. And then since then, 31 now, like having had years under my belt of implementing those things and seeing how they affect who I am wherever I am, like whatever role I have or whatever hat I wear as a husband, as a father, as a business owner, as a friend, like being better now because of that.
Mhm.
That was extremely responsible of you at 19.
Yeah, that was not me at 19.
I'm sitting here kind of reflecting at 19 and going, that's probably where I probably messed up.
It's because I was such a charge at 17 and 18.
I think at 19, I was like, I hope we get some MREs on this retrans site.
I was like, I just hope the armor would work at 19.
I posted this morning, and it ties into tonight's topic here, that kill the complacency you feel around you. Continue putting obstacles in front of yourself, because where there's friction, there's growth, and where there's growth, there's freedom. And it didn't even think about tonight when I posted it, just on my daily routine of doing my Dominate the Day posts in the morning. And I think the friction is a big deal in this topic from the book itself. If you go back and listen to it or read it, all of the things that David Goggins went through, or the things he was called, the people he talked to, the dude went through some shit, man.
Some shit. He ran a marathon on broken legs.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, if you ain't heard this man's story, it's ridiculous.
It's insane. But there's a consistent theme throughout his whole book, and it's about callousing the mind.
Yes.
And if you stop and you think about what does that really mean, like what does it mean to you guys to callous your mind? Because that's how you get the armor.
That's right. So you think a callus, I have them on my hand, right?
Yeah.
And I got them on my hand so I can prove to Rochelle that I work, right? So, but how the calluses came about was repetitiveness,
Absolutely,
consistency, pushing through the barriers, overcoming self-doubt, not becoming a statistic, protecting those around you, right? And you build up this callousness. And the word callous sounds kind of bad, right? It's almost you almost don't want to be callous. You've heard that. You're like, don't be so callous. And it's just kind of abrasive.
Yeah.
And shrewd. But it's important that our minds are calloused, because every day the enemy's out there ready to attack. That goes back down to the devil's outside doing push-ups, right?
Yeah.
If we don't have a calloused mind, if we don't continuously take a look at ourselves, right? Shine your armor. If we don't continuously have some sort of a self-reflection of what did I do last week? How did I behave 6 months ago? Or, all the way up to yesterday. If I don't have these checks and these balances and this consistent work that I have to put, not that I have to put in, I hate to say it that way, but that I want to put in.
Yeah, but some people are wired that way. You know what I mean? Some people are wired to, I have to do this. Like something that stood out to me in this chapter was do the hardest work when you don't want to. Right. And to me, that means like, hey, it's time to go to the gym. I got to talk myself into it. I really don't want to be here. But when you get there, or let's say you're going for a run, 10, 15 minutes into it, you're like, man, damn sure glad I came here. Right. So the question really now is, how do you callous your mind? Like, how can we provide that information to the listeners and the viewers? If they're asking, well, how do I callous my mind?
Right.
What do you do? And I think a lot of it starts with what you were saying, which is repetition. But a callus works two ways. It can be a benefit or a hindrance.
Yes.
Because if you've ever had calluses and you've walked on them for miles and miles and miles, those things rip off and they hurt like two bitches. They hurt. Right. So a callus can be a positive and a negative. It's all about how you use it.
Yeah.
I think it's the intention behind it, right? Because
you
get this from a barbell in your hand or some dumbbells, and you're holding some metal. It's repetitive. Yeah, you're callous. You're doing work and
swinging a hammer.
Oh, that's what it is.
That shit is not swinging a hammer.
You're in the gym all the time, right? And you're holding a barbell. So
that is from Legends Fit.
That's what that is. Yeah,
where the DJ rocks.
He's pointing his finger out the window at the other people swinging the hammer.
That's right.
But you've done that intentionally.
Yes, these are intentional.
Like
calluses.
Callous in the wrong place doesn't do you any good, right? So I think back to Jeff's point, like it's intentionality behind it. Like if I want to develop a callousness to an emotional response to something, be it like a negative comment or a negative input, like I've developed a callous to that because You know, like I love Jeff all the time. You say like, that's just noise, right? It's almost like you've developed this barrier against
Mhm.
that. I'm not offloading my emotional response to someone else that isn't invested into what I'm doing and how I'm doing
Yeah.
it. So I think that whole idea of like you're developing the calluses that have value, that have benefit, that have utility for what you need, because you've done it with that determination from the beginning.
You know, I don't think I ever really looked at it that way, man. And I think maybe that's just my subconscious doing what I've been
Trained to do.
studying and training to do. But I mean, I think you bring up a good point. That is a callus for me because I don't fall victim to the noise. I don't fall victim to the drama or the bullshit. And that's a part of my armor that is very strong because over time in my life, I've dealt with quite a bit of bullshit and some drama. And now I'm more quick at age 40 than I was at 30 to be like, nope, not dealing with it. No matter who it is, where they're from, blood, no blood, friends, nothing. You and I were just having a conversation about this yesterday. So yeah, I guess you kind of just brought that to the forefront, man. That is a callus for me. And I can sit here and say that that's a strong piece of my armor.
Yeah.
I tell you what, I've had to tear some calluses off.
Ooh, that's tough. Yeah.
Okay. So in order for me to have become the person that I want to become, I had to go into the closet, right? I had to go
Thicker
grab
than
some
bones.
tan skeletons.
Yeah.
I had to rip through some of those calluses, and some of those were easier than others, right? Some of that really dates back to becoming honest with who I was.
Yeah.
And was it hard? Absolutely. But was it worth it? Because now that's new skin.
It grows
Right?
back tougher.
That's new armor. That's new. I threw away all this baggage, all this woe me is me mentality. And I use the pour me a drink. Right.
Yeah.
That's so when I get into that kind of thinking, when I call it stinking thinking, right, I have to reevaluate and self-reflect. What am I holding on to that I don't need to? Right. Got to freaking halt. Right. I have to come back and I have to redefine and relook at some of those calluses that I put up, some of those defense mechanisms. Were they the right choices when I put them up? You know, a callus that I did kind of rip apart and a piece of armor that I went through and freaking redefine was I used to be told that I'm just going to become a statistic, right? You're never going to make it. You're from here, you're from there, your parents are that, right?
Yeah.
Just told this countless times over and over, and it became calloused in my mind, but not by me.
Someone else
Right?
gave you the callus.
Somebody else put their armor on me. Somebody else put and calcified this ideology, this doggone way of thinking, because I allowed it to be. I allowed myself to hold on to it. Right? Words are powerful, friends.
Yeah.
Words said out loud and are spoken are powerful. They do land. They are echoed. So everything that we're talking about today is going to be embedded in somewhere, some way, shape, or form. Right. And it's now becoming able to can I recognize it?
Yeah.
Right. When I'm putting on the wrong shield or I'm holding the wrong banner or right. Cause I'm still human. I still want to hold on to things. And I still want to, I think we're talking about imposter syndrome. I think we're going to talk about that here in a second. We got a pretty interesting story with that. But that calcification of our thought process and what we have, what are we holding on to? So look at yourself. You know, if you're in a business, what part of our businesses am I holding on to that I should actually be letting go? Right?
Yeah.
What have I calcified inside of your company and just been doing it so long? You don't even know that we're doing it. It's just repetition. It's like, it's just the way we've always done it. Right? And that's probably our biggest problem of growth is that we are afraid to rip off some of that shit.
Man, I spoke to a person. Well, we'll just put it that way. Last week. And I was telling them, hey, here's some things that we can do. Here's some things that can prepare your clients for this. And here's a better way to do things. You know what his response was? I've been doing it like this for 40 years. Perfect. And just inside of me, just a little piece of me goes, dude, you're missing out. Like you're missing out on so many other opportunities.
He's petrified. He's past calcified. He went to petrified.
And it's like at that moment, I hung the phone up and I sat there in my truck for a minute And I said, I'll never say that. That's not going to be me.
Right. Change is good.
I'm not going to be the guy that says, oh shit, we do this like this all the time, because that's how it goes. Like I welcome my employees to tell me, hey, there's a better way to do this.
Yeah.
Hey, that armor that you think is strong in your business may not be. So listen up to the people that are actually doing the work for you, because those are the ones that are in the daily grind doing everything. They may have a better way. Now, I'm always about processes and procedures and things like that, but I'm also about eliminating the waste.
Yeah.
If I can get to the same end result with the same quality, less 3 steps, damn right I'm going to go for it every time.
Mhm.
So that's a piece of your business that, you know, if you've calloused your mind to say, hey, I've done it this way, this is how we've always done it, dude, you're missing
Setting
out.
yourself up for failure.
Yeah, you're missing out, man.
And I think some of the business owners that I've seen with that biggest hurdle, and we had one of those business owners on our show last month, him and his brother own that huge company,
Mm-hmm.
right? And he began to change. So it was a family-owned operation, right? And the company was passed down to the children, but they were trained in the processes of 1980 and were operating in the year 2000.
22.
No. When they took over.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Right. So they were up
difference.
right. So 20 years of, for lack of a better term, right? The word of the day is calcification, right? Calcify the defense mechanisms and the operations of how that business was ran. And when he said, you know what, I'm going to do it a 180. Everybody
flip the script.
Everybody was pissed. The mom and dad were mad. The brother was, you know what I mean? But that's what it takes as a business owner, is become willing to flip the script, rip the stuff off the doggone table, rip your business apart, and then put it back together. Keep the pieces that are working, that are beneficial, that are saving you time and energy, that are doing, you know what I mean? And throw all the other garbage out. Sorry, you got to fire the vendor you had a relationship for 15 years and you went and raised this kid. You know what I mean? Because that's where we get caught up at as business owners.
See, I think that's
man. I walk my, you know what I mean? I coached your kid baseball. Why aren't you still using me? It's like,
well, here's the deal, right? Because
Rick.
yeah,
do a better job.
yeah,
Rick.
exactly. Yeah, Rick. You know, we always talk about relationships, and they're critical to building a brand and a business. But you're spot on there when it comes down to vendors. I did it twice last year. Nah, bro, I'm done with you because you're just not supporting me. Well, we've been doing business. I don't give a shit. Like, you're not supporting me now, right? And if you're in a position, if you're the procurement department or you do the purchase orders or whatever it may be, and that vendor does not support you and your brand, go back to your core values.
Yeah.
Go right back to your core values and say, okay, does this vendor, you know, match our core values?
Yeah.
If it doesn't, it's more than just about the price of the product. You have to understand that now. If you're buying things for your company, it's more than just the dollars and cents, I promise, because there's going to be a time when you have to call said name vendor and you have to say, man, I don't ever ask you for much, but I really need something right now. You know what? 9 times out of 10, they say, I got you, bro.
Got you.
I got you.
Yep.
You know why? Because you don't come here asking for a handout every single time. So now I know that you really need help. You really need it. It's from here. So it's not always about the dollars. I can't explain that enough.
Yeah. Which is crucial. So what do you got going on, Evan? Callousing your mind, your armor. We're throwing a lot of stuff out here tonight.
I'm learning.
Well, you know, you're young into the entrepreneur world.
Mhm.
So where do you feel like this applies to you currently?
It's knowing where and how and when to, I think, be open and humble enough to receive that input, and then knowing where to say, like, no, this is a hard and fast line. Like, there needs to be a callus here. And I mean, that's discernment, that's intuition, that's learning and growing. It's a number of things. But I also think at the end of it, like, kind of to your points, there's a level of buy-in that I think the other party has to have before we can truly, like, hand over that level of influence that they have.
Right.
If it's just someone with an opinion,
Shit, everybody's got those.
right, throw up the wall, right? But if it's someone who, like, they align with the core values, they see the direction, right? They get the vision, they understand where you're trying to go. Like, I don't want to be that person either in years from now where I'm like, this is the way I've always done it. I don't want to be a Blockbuster in a Netflix world. Like, I want to be able to say, I'm not romantic with the process. I'm more aligned with the journey and the direction and the intention. So
I love that. Yeah.
it's just like a number of things. And I always say the tools in the tool belt and knowing which one to use at which time, but, like, some places you want calluses, other places you don't. I don't want callous lips, but I'm okay having callous hands, right? Like, so it's knowing.
I will keep quiet.
There's something that sticks out in what you're saying right there, and it comes from that Atomic Habits book I'm also listening to right now. And I'm gonna botch this up, but long story short is he was basically saying the same thing, which is, focus on the journey, not the progress.
Yeah.
And that kind of that to me was it spoke volumes to me, because I was kind of like, man, sometimes I get so like in tune with where am I at right now, right? Instead of looking back at the journey of where I came from and where I am, man, if I look back at the journey from Black Level AV in a short 5 years, 5 years ago when we were standing in that office and you're like, why you keep working for this fool? Why don't you start your business? It's amazing to me and I'm excited about it, right? But when I laser focus on today's progress, it gets a little cumbersome sometimes.
Sure.
Right. And that's where the chink in the armor for me comes. I had to stop, like you said, and I have to step back and self-evaluate. Yeah, exactly. Like the lamp, like the lantern, it just lights a few steps ahead of you. But man, I tell you what, that focus on the journey, but not the immediate progress, was huge for me when I heard it last week, man.
It's big. Imposter syndrome, anyone?
Yeah. And I'm reading that right now, and it is real. And before we kicked off the show this evening, I asked Evan, I said, man, what do you feel? Do you feel like you're an imposter syndrome, and what does that look like to you? And he was like, man, there are days that I feel like sometimes I put out content and I'm like, whoa, I better live up to that content, because there's some videos that I saw that he put out. I'm like, man, this dude better live up to that shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I never put anything out there like that. But it's fabulous work, right? And that is. But in my eyes, is the imposter syndrome, right, is you're already doing it, right? Like, I'm already doing it, and I'm unwilling to be honest with the people that I'm doing it with.
Well,
right.
Explain it from your point of view, because I think he broke it down earlier in a really good way. Because imposter syndrome, a lot of people go, what is that? Like, we hear it a lot. And where you hear it most is from business coaching. I never heard imposter syndrome until I started having a business coach.
Gotcha.
And I still was kind of like, I don't think I have that. But then the way he broke it down, I'll let you.
I think it's like self-doubt, right? It's like, man, am I worthy of this opportunity? Like, so something's presented, right? Like there's a job, or there's an opportunity, and it's before you. And it's like, who am I to have this presented to me? Who am I to work with this client or create this project for this person? And it's like, that seed of doubt that says, like, you're not qualified, you're not able. What happens when you get figured out that you're really not as good as you think you are? And that, like, I think that's a whole momentum building. Like, it's a lie, right? It's
that's
like
friction.
It's this friction that's like, you guys talked about it earlier, like that frailty of the wrong armor, or the conditioning of the wrong thought, or the idea that I'm not able to do that. You won't be able to. But it's like recognizing that imposter syndrome is in fact like a lie, that like, no, if I wasn't right for this opportunity, it wouldn't be before me.
That's right.
There's like all of these steps that were prerequisite for me to get to where I am today. And I have the confidence to know that they have presented it to me because they believe I'm the right person for it. And you know what? I'm going to exceed expectations, because this is a huge opportunity to have an exponential value on the back end of it, because it's right here. And so am I.
I tell you what though, man, if you let that, so first off, everyone has doubt. We all live with it. It's a human nature, right? It's okay to manage the doubt, but once you let the doubt sink in and start taking hold, that's a total game changer. I don't know. There's like some crazy astronomical number of how many thoughts the human brain goes through, like 40 to 50 a minute, or something silly like that, right? If you have those doubts, it's okay, because we all have them. But the moment that you let it take root and start growing within your mindset, that's when you have the imposter syndrome.
What you feed will grow, right?
Yeah, that's the fleeting mind, the fleeting thoughts that plagues us, right? And they can get caught up in those webs. And because, like, the reason I had imposter syndrome was because of the lies that I was told.
Explain when you had that. Like, what what you kind of.
I had it yesterday. I mean,
okay, well, that was a lot sooner than I expected it to be.
No, just kidding. But just like you're gonna be a statistic. Hey, there's no way you're gonna be able to do that. I had imposter syndrome when I was in freaking Afghanistan and I was ready to go, and they're like, Doc, you're up. And I'm like, oh shit, do I know what I'm doing here? I'm 20 years old. This guy's got freaking round and freaking missing a leg. Like you want to talk about imposter syndrome? I'm like, I'm not a doctor. Like, are you guys freaking kidding me? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's the you just went to the worst case scenario.
It's like next level of but at the end of the day, there was what you said was true, right? If I wasn't meant to be there, then I wouldn't have been there.
Mm-hmm.
So there wasn't, but there is that fleeting thought of like, oh my gosh, this person's life is in my hands. I better get my shit together and I better start putting stuff together what they taught me to do.
Well, and that's where it goes right back to where that you train. So when the actual incident or something takes place, it's muscle memory.
The muscle memory definitely took over, but there was that oh shit factor. Like, this is reality. You know what I mean? And
I'd probably say the whole Afghanistan, Iraq was a big oh shit factor. I don't know that a lot of people can relate to that. So let's bring it back to
sorry, I was just
business. No, it's cool because we have some really cool war stories and fun shit to talk about. But what I'm taking away from what you're saying is, okay, how can we apply that to an imposter syndrome in my business? Mm-hmm. And I'll give it to you year 2, year 3. Mm-hmm. It was still solopreneur, right? And I was like at the point where I was grinding this guy about hiring and talking to everybody I knew. And I was just didn't want to take the risk, right? I looked at it as a risk instead of an asset. And that's when I had the biggest imposter syndrome, was like, I'm building a great brand. I do great work. Here's the problem with that. I was in every one of those freaking sentences. Yeah. Right. So the imposter syndrome starts with you. So in your business, if you're thinking, well, I'm a small company, I want to look like a big company on my brand or whatever, don't worry about all that stuff. It's going to come. Just like you said, case in point, Hailstorm came, his clients gave back. Your clients gave back. If you continue to put forward your best bet, show up on time, do what you say you're going to do.
That's it.
If you break down business into 2 facts, that's pretty much damn near what it is, right? There's a whole bunch of other stuff that goes with it. But the point I wanted to make to kind of piggyback off of your Afghanistan imposter syndrome was that even worst case scenario in a business, you can boil that down to you had your imposter syndrome because your mind was in charge of you.
Yes. Well, but you take to a good point. It did literally happen 2 days when I'm scrolling Facebook and there's people that I know, like, and trust, and they're telling people how great and exceptional that the company I own and work with is doing. And you read that and I'm like, well, damn it, man, if he says that and somebody calls me out on that, you know what I mean? But like, it better be tip top shape. And it is, right? But we have to have, I think we all have to have self-doubt, because we have to get called out and go, okay, Mike, you ready? And it's like, yeah, let's do this. And now I can create a plan. Right. So I am no longer an imposter. I got a plan. I'm taking charge. This is how it's going to happen, so on and so forth. So it's important to have imposter syndrome at certain phases in your business. I was just afforded the opportunity to open up a whole nother commercial contracting company and do it. Folks, like, I'm just willing to take the risk. So I'm fixing to put on some imposter syndrome, right? And go, yep, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make it happen. And do I know everything that I need to know about this industry? Not yet. So I'm going to be that guy that looks like I know what the hell I'm doing, right? Until I know what I'm doing. So that when I think the word imposter, that means I'm intentionally disguised myself as somebody that doesn't know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where some of that self-doubt comes from, because we dressed ourselves up inappropriately.
But you have to be careful with that, man, because in today's day and age, it takes one person to stunt the growth of an exceptional company, right?
Oh,
and sure. I think that's where imposter syndrome also comes in. I don't necessarily, me personally, I don't really worry about this too much, because I do good shit, right? And I'll say it.
I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I don't have to worry about it. But if you're out there and you're faking the funk, it's gonna get the what do they say? The wheat will rise to the top, or whatever that is. Is that? I don't know. Anyways, people are gonna find out what
people are gonna find out.
Yeah,
the truth will set you free. I will say, I don't remember that one.
Yeah, I know that one too. So don't bullshit, because people will know.
Well, like that's being an actual imposter. right? I
Yes.
don't think the imposter has imposter syndrome. They're just trying to con
Just-
people. They're just trying to like.
And they're out there,
They're
folks.
just be trying to be shady. They're,
And-
they're
and-
shady.
But I think to kind of come back to like that, you said that you need it almost, right? Like you want to have it, but I think that shows the level of care because you want it to be a certain way, and you
Mhm.
know that you're a fallible human and you're not perfect, but you also know that this thing that you're coming up against is worthy enough or important enough to care for it enough. And also you're continuously putting yourself in challenging situations. Maybe it's 1 degree past what you did last time. So it's continuously moving you forward. So I think those butterflies, right? Like
Yeah.
even top performing like musicians or athletes, they still get
Mhm.
little
Nervous.
butterflies in their stomach because they care about it.
Yeah.
It's like you guys are fans of music, right? Like your musicians talk about they walk from the green room to the stage, like that long walk down the hallway. Like it all comes rushing to them. Like, who am I to go and like perform for these people?
Yeah.
Like people at the top of their game still have it. So I think that like, yes, absolutely. And it makes you respect
Yes.
craft.
Makes you respect and
Merck,
appreciate. Yeah,
Merck pulled it out. Good looking, Merck. He said cream rises to the top.
that's right.
Yeah, good looking, Merck.
We're all
Appreciate you, brother.
farmers here.
Fellow Devil Dog listening in.
That's it. But that boils down to constantly changing your armor, constantly giving yourself an upgrade, if you will.
Yeah.
You know, if you're born in the gaming world like Jeff and I, we know about it, right? We always are consistently trying to become better,
Mhm.
right? And that's how you fight imposter syndrome.
I
When
agree.
it when
Yeah.
it when you have self-doubt, well, that's cool. It's time to upgrade your armor. It's time to read a book. It's time
Mhm.
to get knowledge. It's time to talk to your mentor. It's time to get out there. It's time to challenge yourself to take it to the next level.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
So that's why I say, you know, I welcome imposter syndrome.
absolutely.
I want somebody to say, man, you sure? I'm like, oh no, hold on.
I kind of look at it a little bit different after kind of breaking it down with y'all like this, because you know I always looked at imposter syndrome and not 100% knowing what that was really all about, but that's kind of that driving force. That's kind of that mental friction per se, right,
Right.
in your head. And you know where friction is, you know, is where you're gonna find growth. You know what I mean? So if you're not growing, you're dying.
That's right. And I know there's a lot of people that make it, it's probably going to go to the wrong path, but imposter syndrome has a lot to do with when you kind of go into recovery, right?
Oh man,
Am I ever going to walk again?
You had to take it there, huh?
No, like walk.
Oh, you're talking about just general recovery.
like
Okay.
where are you at?
I was back in the Alcoholics Anonymous. I was back in the AA.
It works there too.
It does too. Yeah.
Am I really being sober? Right.
you
Like
really
we
took
get
me
that.
back there. Yeah,
There's triggers, but there's a lot of times when we as humans, when life gives us those lemonades, we begin to go, why? The why show up. What's the point?
Well, and when
You know
good
what I
things
mean?
start happening
Yes.
in sequential order, like, oh wow, this is good, this is good, this is good. Oh wait, setback. You know, as you progress and be better and get better on yourself and start focusing on being a better human, right? The bottom line to it, you'll start really finding out real quick that a lot of really good things start happening to you.
Yes.
Right.
That's right.
This whole why me, or the where I came from, who I was, who my parents were, all that bullshit. If you live in the gutter, my man Rick Johnson said it the best. If you play in the gutter, you're gonna be in the gutter with, you know what I mean? So you start really progressing in your mind. And that's what we're kind of focusing on tonight. Actually, this whole book,
Yes.
Can't Hurt Me, is about your mind. Your body will only push so far physically, it will only do it, but your mind will push it further than you think.
Yeah, what do they say? We stop at about 40%.
Yeah.
We got 60% left in us.
yeah.
Most humans stop at 40% when the shit gets rough. We
I
still
would say
have
I would take that
60%.
down lower. I would say most stop about 25%. 20-25%.
You know what? I'm a
As soon
big
as it's
fan.
uncomfortable.
He's a round numbers guy. He's a round numbers guy.
No, I'm just saying I'm an optimist, man. I need our country to come back with full force. We're fucking 50%ers, guys. Let's get it. You know,
But
but
even if that means when you think you're done,
that's right.
you haven't even come
You haven't even come close. You haven't scraped
Yeah.
the surface of your fullest
Mhm.
potential.
Because as soon as it gets uncomfortable, right? And we know that like discomfort is what creates that change, what creates that growth, what creates that
Yeah.
need to adapt. If you're comfortable, if you're complacent, if it's homeostasis, you don't need to adapt. It's fine here.
That's right.
It's 69 degrees. It's 60. I don't
Complacency.
need to change.
That kills, man. Complacency kills. That was something the Marine Corps always said. Complacency kills. And you know what? sometimes in the wrong places, and it can literally kill you.
Literally kill
Whether
you.
you're driving, you're getting complacent, you're looking at your freaking Facebook on your phone or TikTok, whatever the hell you're doing,
Watching this podcast.
whatever,
No.
watching this podcast.
That is not true. People do not get injured or while
Over,
driving,
watching the
watching
side of the
PBA. They
Watching
go
the shoulder.
back.
But you know why? That's because they listen to us on Spotify or iTunes
That's
later
right.
on, right?
Audio
So it's cool.
only.
Audio only. Good job, folks. I appreciate your safety. Now I'm off track.
Kevin, I want to say thanks a lot, man, for your comments tonight, brother, and joining in. Doug Montgomery, Jeff Merkel, Simplify, brother. Hope you're doing well. And if you want to talk to anybody about them taxes, them year 2 taxes, you better get a CPA, homie.
right now. Like, start adding them up.
Do y'all even recommend paying? Is it worth it to pay your taxes?
Is it worth it to
kidding.
pay your
That's
taxes?
a joke. That's a joke.
Oh no, they have a deferment program.
I don't.
I'm going to answer that question with it depends on who you are.
Like so, there's.
It's all cash pro bono.
We can
Matches
talk off
money.
record. I can give you some street
matches
hood
cash.
advice. I got some Coughlin County tax advice if you want it.
Man. Hey, I love this topic tonight, guys. If you haven't listened to or read the book, obviously you can tell the month of what is this March is going to be focused around David Goggins and his book Can't Hurt Me. Go pick it up, man. Pick it up on Audible, buy it on freaking Amazon or whatever you can do. But I promise you, if you read the book and you read it with an open mind, you're going to find something different in every single chapter that can apply to you. And it's just like reading any other book.
Mhm.
Depending on where you are in life, you may pick up a different message. Like I said, I've read this book 4 or 5 times, listened to it 4 or 5 times. And it's like when I pick it up and start it on Audible again, it's like I've never heard it before.
Yeah.
It's that good of a book, man.
I think also you're going to it with the intention of learning something from it.
Yep.
I think it's the openness. Like, what is that old like stoicism quote? Like, you cannot learn that what you think you already know because you're hardened, right?
Yeah.
You're closed off.
That's
to
a
it.
callus you can remove real quick.
You rip
Yeah.
that one off and
Yeah.
say, I'm coming back to this to learn something. What can I glean from this? And it's like this openness that's just available for it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Safe rounds you got, Doc.
Man, I'm reading a new book, Thinking 5 Steps Ahead. And it really plays a part in how your thought process, how do you keeping your armor sharp, and how are you consistently upgrading? And that is by thinking ahead.
You're 5 steps ahead. That seems way slow for you.
No, that's just the name of the book.
Okay.
Like
That's not how you
I
roll.
play chess.
Yeah,
Like I didn't even figure out how I'm checkmating your ass in like 4 moves. So,
man.
but it's a good idea, right? So there's tons of books, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and
Yep.
it's always about sharpening the saw, or if you're going to do what you're doing today, it should have a compounding effect a couple of days down the road, a year down the road. If you don't understand compounding interest, it's investments,
Mhm.
right? But the book says, and what made me think of this was he did a little triangle, and I'm going to jack it up because I don't pay attention when I read. But you have like survivor mode
Mhm.
that a lot of people in the world are in currently, right? I
Mhm.
go to work to pay a bill. I go to work to pay a bill. I go to work to have a birthday. I go to work to pay a
Yeah.
bill, right? And then you go into the comfortable mode. Now we're complacent.
Yep.
Right. And a lot of us get stuck in there. We finally got the raise that we're looking for to give us that cushion
Now
in
we get
life.
comfy.
Now we're getting comfortable. But where, so people get their mind shifted is when the neighbor shows up and they're driving a new car, right? Or
Keeping up with the Joneses.
right. But that's a good thing, right? Because if we never wanted to keep up with the Joneses, I would be still on the couch.
So
Fair?
you're shifting the mindset from
Right.
the jealousy to the motivation.
That's right. Because now I want what I have. So envy is not a bad thing. It's only when you obsess over it, right?
Yeah.
And you do it wrong. But keeping up with the Joneses is a catalyst to get us off the couch, to get us out of complacency,
With the right mindset.
right?
Yeah, totally. I get
Knowing
it.
that once we get to where we really want to be, which is wherever the hell you want to be at, according to your plan and your vision, right? And then that final triangle, right, is purpose.
Mhm.
In that book, what's stated is purpose is consistently changing, right?
Damn.
So every
That's pretty
time,
heavy.
right? Because it is.
Yeah.
Because what my purpose today is going to be obviously probably different in 10 years from now. My purpose has to be continuously changing because life is continuously changing. It's fluid.
Evolving.
We're
Yeah.
always this energy that is just comprised of what we don't know.
Mhm.
Right. And so they say that they're the 3 hardest substances that humans knows is still diamonds and knowing yourself. Right? Because we're consistently trying to figure out who we are. What is our purpose? Right? And so sometimes we see the nice shiny Rolex. Well, maybe my purpose is to get a Rolex, but it's not. I just want to know what time it is.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's kind of the
What book is
takeaways.
this?
5 Steps Ahead. But I promise you, my triangle doesn't say keep up with the Joneses, but it's just how I remember things. And so don't look at when you're complacent, find that trigger, find whatever's broken in your armor, whatever broken in your mind that says, why am I stuck here? Right. Or what is your catalyst? What callus do you need to rip off so that you can go to another level? What do you need to do in your business to help you achieve the level that you want? That's it.
Yeah, so
That's
that book
it.
is actually called Your Next 5 Moves, and it's by Patrick Bet-David.
Listen, I pre-warned everybody.
No, it's cool. I'm
that I
just
don't
letting,
remember
because
what
it sounds like it has a lot of good
It is.
information
Oh,
in
it's
it.
tons of good guys.
So
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Excellent guy. That's the second time I'm reading his book.
I'm buying it.
He was a kid where his parents moved from Iran to the United States. As he was driving away, they were carpet bombing the city he lived in.
Damn.
Like the book is phenomenal, and the way he his perception on the world is completely different, obviously, because he came from a third world. Problem here in America is we don't understand world hardships.
We think we do because we
Dude.
have 10 minutes for our coffee, right? Our Wi-Fi isn't working.
I mean,
And
we
don't
can
get me started on
we
that
can go down
bullshit.
that rabbit hole. I think more and more Americans are becoming more and more self-aware that that's what we think, because as the media pushes and a lot of people are seeing what's going on around the world,
Yeah.
they're no longer, hopefully we're no longer taking for
You want to
granted.
simplify it? Just walk outside, look up at the next building you see, and just say, that building doesn't have a bomb going off in it right now.
Yeah.
You want to simplify gratitude? Just be grateful, man.
My head's
Just-
on a swivel just walking down the street.
Yeah.
right?
Man, hell of a topic tonight, boys. Good job, man. I appreciate it. Thank you
Yeah.
to all the listeners. Hey, check it out if you can. Watch this in full, because I know a lot of people don't sit there. It's hard not to scroll, even when you got good content. Spotify, iTunes, anywhere you got an iTunes or a podcast platform, you can hear us. And that's a big shout out to Knucklehead Media Group for helping us, and our main man over here, Evan, for all the productivity on our content and things like that.
Maximize media.
Yeah.
If you don't know about them, get
And
to
just
know
daggone
them.
Doc, just being daggone Doc, loving it.
Just-
So,
If you don't know who I am, I don't know what to tell you.
yeah.
You're
Um,
missing out.
I mean, I was going to say something. Bless America. What was it, Jeff? I was
Man.
listening to you and you had it. Something prompted. I'll remember it after a while and I'll put it in the
Throw it in the
comments.
text. Yeah.
I'll
there
throw it
you
in the
go.
text. But it was a great episode this evening. Armored Mind, know yourself, you know what I mean, and be honest with you. And that's how you become a better person, a better human, and just continue to live life.
That's
You know
it.
what I mean?
Go on.
Oh, I remember.
Oh, hit it.
Fuck. Guys, like and share our
Yes.
freaking stuff.
Yeah,
Okay.
please.
That is the only way that we're going to grow. And that's the only way people are going to want to get on our show to help you guys get more content. Comment, like, share, all that stuff that I'm supposed to do. I'm watching YouTube with my 5-year-old, and what they're doing is they're like, yeah, like and share. So if Maximize Media, you know how to put something there that says this. I'm just kidding. Just like and share the shit so we can
Yeah.
get good information out to people that need it. All right.
Absolutely.
Cool. Y'all
All
be
right.
good.
Y'all be good.